All right, so we're back on the PS5. We left off last time. I had removed RAM chip number 7. I've already reballed that chip. I have also went down and I've seen, the channels, the experts that do this, not people like me who are just trying to learn how to do it. But they would always go through and put solder mask, and I didn't really realize the importance of it, but I kind of do now. Uh, and so anyhow, so I've already So I went through. I removed that chip and I repaired the traces underneath the RAM IC so that we can ensure nothing shorts out when I put that chip back on. Um, so my plan is to remove 2, 4, 5, and 6, reball them with using 0.45 millimeter balls. I was using 0.5, and I think 0.5 is too big. I went over and asked a question on Toltec Merc's channel, and as far as I'm concerned, he's the man. He's an expert at these things. Um, and I asked him about, safe temperatures to remove RAM, etc. And he said that he safely removed RAM off of a PS5, off of the board with no preheater, using 400 degrees Celsius. And so I removed them using the preheater, uh, but and a couple of times I did it without the preheater, but I never exceeded 400 degrees Celsius. So I'm hoping that I haven't killed the chip. So my plan is to remove those chips and then very methodically reball them, repair all of the traces underneath, and heat the board back up, put the RAM back on, and then see what we can do from there. So let me let this board heat up and then we will remove the RAM. All right, we'll wait for that to cool down and we'll start reballing these RAM ICs. All right, so I'm on my last chip, and I'm gonna show y'all how I've been doing this so that you guys can critique my method. But essentially, I start with adding a little bit of flux down, and then I take my finger and I spread out the flux like so. I wipe my finger off, and then I do it again. All right, so yeah, so I don't know how much I recorded in that last clip of my voice, but basically you saw me put the little bit of flux on. I I spread it out with my finger. I wiped my finger off. I spread it out again, and then in the corners, I took the Q-tip because flux will accumulate right here, and then when you go to reflow these balls down, that flux will start bubbling up. It'll get prematurely on where your balls are at, and then the next thing you know, you've got way too much solder in one area. So so now I'm just going to go through and I'm going to put these balls in their appropriate position. And this might be too much flux, so I may be doing this again. Get a little closer. I'll speed through all of this or jump to the end when I'm finishing. So this is exactly what I'm going to do. This is real time. So I brace my hand, and I just get after it. And it takes a little while. And it's better to take your time and try to get the ball centered directly on the pad the very first time, because going back on these, it's so close together. It's just better to do it when you're doing it. Just get them as close to the pad as you can. And hopefully you only have to do it one time and you're good. All right, all the balls are on there. Now I'm going to remove this from the chip holder, and I'm going to set it down on the little pad, and then I'm going to come with the hot air, set it 350, one airflow, and I'm just going to start about 2 inches above the chip, and I'm going to slowly circle, and I'm going to gradually get closer to the chip as I go. I can already see flux pooling up, which isn't good, because that means balls will slip and slide. But maybe we'll get lucky if we're super careful. Moving closer. Moving closer. Moving closer. I don't see any doubled up. I'm seeing them start to heat up and kind of get into place. I don't see any doubled up. I'm going to move even closer. They're starting to move into place. All right, so now I think I can add some flux. So we're going to just dribble flux and drag it down. And then we're going to come back and hit it with the heat again. And we should see them pop right into place. Keep the heat on there a little bit longer. I had one slip off, I think. Or double up with the one next to it. Oh, this is so frustrating sometimes. Yeah, it doubled up with the one next to it. I don't even know when it did it. Yeah, that one right there doubled up. So let's see if we can go in here and just remove 4 balls with our wick. We're going to cut our wick at an angle here. Maybe we can get in there and just wick away a very small portion of it. All right, I think I did it. So let's clean this chip off with the toothbrush. I need to try to get that a little better. Need to try to get that a little teeny bit better. This one right here. It's so hard, dude. All right, they're melted in place. Let's add a little flux. All right. All right, I think we're good. All right, the next step is to heat the board back up and put them back on and hope that it works. All right, so I have it back in the case. Let's try to power it on. All right, we get the blue light. Okay, 2-second blue light. So let's capture the console service tool. And the console service tool is giving us, now it's telling us that whereas before we had 2, 4, 5, 6, and 7, now it's telling us that we only have 2. So my reball fixed 3 out of the 4 that were originally bad. But we still have a problem with number 2. So I'm going to take it back off and I'm going to reball it again. And I'm going to resolder it. And we'll see how it goes. All right, so I want you guys to notice something. I put that pin 1 this way. And what do you notice right there? You notice an arrow. The pin 1 should be by that arrow. So I'm an absolute utter moron. So anyways, I'll pull it back off and we'll see what happens. All right. I've reballed that chip 1,000 times. Not literally 1,000 times, but like 4 times. I've got all the other ones working. So if it doesn't work this time, I'm done with it, man. I'm done with it. This thing's keeping me up at night trying to figure this thing out, but if it stays on for longer than 2 seconds, I got to unplug it because I don't have any liquid metal. Oh my God, it's working. Oh my gosh, it's working. It stayed on. It stayed on. Oh my goodness. Thank the Lord. Hopefully this is I'll be back to where it was at when I got it. That's all I want. I don't have any liquid metal. So I have to order liquid metal, and I don't know what kind to buy. So another thing to research. All right, let's plug it back in. Let's run the codes. And hopefully it just tells me power was disconnected. Yes. Yes. APU. Yes. Oh, thank the Lord. Thank the Lord, man. So I am going to buy some liquid metal, and when it gets here, I'm going to put the liquid metal on and then see if it'll boot up. Because I don't know if it'll, yeah. I made a lot of mistakes during this process, and I will lay them all out for you at the end of the video. Some things I've learned about doing this. So yeah, I'll see you when I get some liquid metal. Dude, I'm so excited. I got it back. I got it back, dude. I didn't think I was going to be able to. Now I need to find the it's white light. So yeah, so I'm going to try to find the software USB that I have for PS5 and see if I can install software on it now. All right, so I'm going to hit cancel. Got to cut the console back off. Oh my goodness, dude, look, I have a bad heart, and I get so excited about not even that I fixed it, because I doubt I fixed it, but I'm at least back to where I started after removing 5 of the RAM ICs. So that is a confidence boost for me. You know what I'm saying? All right, let me find the thing, and then I'll start recording again. All right, let's talk about where we're at with this console. In the first video, it wouldn't install an update. And so I looked at the codes and I said, oh, well, that, it says GDDR6, so it's got to be RAM. And I was, using another video as a reference with the same problem. And I made it worse by knocking off the RAM, or knocking the RAM off of their, you know what I'm saying. I messed some things up with the RAM. So in this video, I spent hours and hours and hours repairing my mistake. And I finally got them back on there properly. And now the console is doing the exact same thing it did at the start of the first video. So we are back where we started. And I got to tell you, I'm pretty proud of the fact that I'm back to where I started, because replacing RAM is not easy. It is not an easy thing to do. Just like that APU on that PS4 Pro, that's a terribly difficult thing to do, and it takes so much time. So let's talk about some things that I did wrong. Number one, it's important when you preheat the board to remove your foam from around your CPU. Take the liquid metal off, remove your foam pad, because if you don't, it will wind up like this one, melted. Tip number 2, chip extraction tool. I need to buy a chip extraction tool, because the flip method doesn't work. Not for me. The grab the chip and lift it doesn't work for me, because I end up sliding it. And then when you slide it on a board that's hot and the solder's melted, you inevitably run across other components. And then you don't know that you've run across other components for 3 days, until you're reviewing one of your videos and you're like, oh my goodness, there was a component there, So chip extraction is a critical thing to think about when removing these. Flux, too much flux is bad when reballing. Too little flux is bad when reballing. So how do you know what's too little or too much? Well, you just have to do and use trial and error. And eventually you'll start to kind of figure it out. Chip orientation. When putting a chip back onto the board, you need to orient it in the same direction it came off. Pin 1 should go to the little arrow on the board indicating pin 1. RAM is far tougher than I thought it was. I just thought that, you're going to kill it. I killed it all. As you can see, I put the RAM back on, and the console boots right up. Solder mask. When you remove a chip and you wick away the solder, you inevitably scrape away solder mask from the factory from beneath that chip. It's important to put the solder mask back, because if not, your balls will merge and you will wind up with errors and you won't know what's going on. So those are the things that I've learned. So let me tell you what I did. I copied all of my errors that I got. And this was the last from today. The APU not responding, trying a knit or reboot. That was from today. So I cleared the errors. Let me switch over to scene 3, is it? Yeah, so I copied and saved my errors in a notepad. And then I went and I did what Moa Mayer said in the comment on my first video. He said what he tells people to do is when you first get the console, save the errors that exist on that console, and then clear the errors. Unplug for 10 seconds, a minimum, then plug the console back in, wait another 5 seconds for the standby voltages to initialize, and then run error codes. And I did that, and I got 0 error codes. I got what you see up here on the screen. I then tried to install the software, and it failed like it did before. I then went and reran the console tool, and I'm still getting no errors. So I'm getting no errors, and the console will not install an update. It'll act like it's going to install an update, and then it never installs the update. Sometimes it'll go through the process of counting down and like, okay, hey, yeah, it's looking promising, and then boom. It you know what, it functions exactly like a PS4 when you go to do a reinstall on it and you have a bad hard drive. It exhibits the same exact behavior. So I don't know. Perhaps the SSD is faulty on this, but I don't have any of that Xton RAM, whatever version that is. I don't know if that's Micron or what. The one from the other, the band console is SK Hynix, so I can't use that because the component layout is different. So I would need the same RAM, and I would need eight chips, so I could replace all of it, or I could replace it one at a time, I suppose, but that would take a cajillion years. So yeah, that is where I'm at. I learned a tremendous amount. I learned that these boards and these chips are pretty tough. As long as you're using like 400 degrees or below, they don't seem to die very easily. I mean, I reballed one of those chips probably 6 times, I bet. So you got to think, that's 6 times with a soldering iron, wicking away balls off the bottom of that chip. And it still is fine. Now, I was super careful. I'm not saying I was a complete idiot while doing it. I was trying to be very mindful of how much heat I put on there. But still, because that's like 6 heat cycles of getting the balls to attach, another heat cycle of getting the chip to attach to the board, and then doing it all over again, you know? So these chips can take a decent amount of heat. But I don't think the problem is most likely with the RAM. I mean, I'm getting no errors at all now. So I don't know, y'all. I don't know. Yeah, the update file is corrupted. And if I were to run the, if I go back, let's cut the console off. Okay. It's going to reboot. All right, the console is now off. Let's switch over and look at the tool. If I were to run codes again, I still have no errors. So yeah. I don't know. I'm just happy I got it back to where it was at. Now I know I can replace RAM if I need to. Anyhow, I promised y'all a revisit, and I've given you the revisit. So, appreciate y'all watching.